Right now on Denver 7 News at 7 o'clock on Local 3, billions of people all around the world are watching the final farewell to the longest reigning monarch the UK has ever seen. Today's momentous funeral procession for Queen Elizabeth II.
And here in Colorado, Aurora is considering taking action today in response to the outcry over Elijah McClain's death by pushing to ban these drugs from use.
And victims of an apartment explosion are finally able to collect their belongings after being shut out of their homes for days now. What they're finding, though, as they return.
Plus, your Denver Broncos bringing home a win at Empower Field last night, the analysis from yesterday's first home game, and what it could mean for the rest of the team's season.
They got a lot to clean up.
They do.
But they got the win.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but we're here.
Thanks for joining us on this Monday. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Micah Smith. It was a beautiful weekend.
Was.
And it appears that trend's going to continue at least for the next day or two, Katie.
Exactly. We'll see more sunshine and warm temperatures once again this afternoon. This morning, sun is rising. It'll be a bright eastbound drive for you with mostly clear skies here over the Denver area. Temperatures are currently in the high 50s, so nice and mild out there early on. Winds are sustained from the southwest just at 9 miles per hour. Temperatures elsewhere, we're at 50 degrees in Lakewood and mid-50s into Centennial, only in the upper 40s currently into Littleton, so you may want that extra layer early on. The mountains nice and chilly. Granby only at 35 degrees right now, but it will warm up quickly. If you're getting ready to head out the door, here's a look at our temperature planner. By 9 o'clock, getting to 65 degrees, lunchtime in the low 80s, and we're expecting a high of 90 out of DIA by about 3 p.m. Boulder getting to the upper 80s, low to mid 90s over the far eastern plains, and that is well above average for this time of the year. Typically, we're at a high of 79 degrees. We have some much cooler weather arriving, though, Jason, by Wednesday. Your full forecast coming up.
And you mentioned sunshine and seeing plenty of it down on C470 here at Santa Fe. That's going to be a factor for you if you're going to be heading on any of these eastbound routes. It's going to be a little bit bright for you. But here along Santa Fe, just getting a little bit heavier in some of those usual spots, getting up to Mineral. It's going to be always busy up at that intersection. Take a look at the drive that we have across 270. Very typical westbound and eastbound slowing for us right now. And you can see on the overall map, the heaviest traffic is on I-70, 270, I-76. Really nothing unusual about that for you here this morning. Over there at Colorado and MLK, northbound could slow you down just a little bit with a crash reported in there. West side of town still pretty good for us, as well as the northbound side. You had a volume surge of some traffic going up to Alameda. It looks like it's eased up quite a bit for you if you're heading out on the east side of town.
Well, it is a solemn and historic day in London as the city hosts the funeral for Queen Elizabeth II. As you're taking a live look at the hearse carrying her casket, hundreds of world leaders were at Westminster Abbey earlier, and millions have lined the street for this funeral procession for what's expected to be one of the most watched live television events ever.
Yeah, the car carrying the Queen is now on its way to Windsor Castle after a march through London. Before that, President Biden and the First Lady attended the funeral service. Ukraine's First Lady, Olena Zelenska, was also there. More than 1 million people have gathered to say their final farewells. Some have camped out for days.
I'm a huge history buff. The traditions have been in place in this country for hundreds and hundreds of years before our U.S. was created.
The Queen's final resting place will be St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, where she will be buried next to her late husband, Prince Philip, in a private family service around 12:30 our time.
Now for some news a little bit closer to home. The death of Elijah McClain forever changed Colorado and the country when he was detained and injected with ketamine, a strong sedative.
Well, now the city of Aurora is considering banning paramedics from using any chemical sedative again. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is live with this move to potentially do away with these powerful drugs.
And Aurora Council member Curtis Gardner says sedatives have no place in the hands of Aurora paramedics, which is exactly why he's introducing this ban on sedatives during study session today. So this initiative, this resolution, it would ban sedatives for 3 years. This is beyond what's already being used as of December 31st of last year. This means that if this resolution is passed, Aurora City Manager would have to have Aurora Fire Rescue refrain from adding any new sedatives to its emergency medical services protocol for that 3-year period. So this comes after the medical director who oversees AFR's program said just last month he'd be introducing a different sedative called droperidol to paramedics' kits. That's a fast-acting sedative that works as a tranquilizer and would be used in situations when ketamine was used before it was banned. Gardner told Denver 7 he has multiple concerns about sedatives in Aurora, one of those stemming from the death of Elijah McClain.
I think first, concerns about civil liberties, about injecting a sedative into somebody without their permission. But I think the bigger issue I have is we have firefighters currently indicted for murder charges for administering a sedative, ketamine, that was previously in our medical protocols. And I just don't understand why we would take the risk of introducing an additional sedative while those charges are still pending.
So if a majority of City Council goes ahead and approves this resolution, then the ban would go into effect immediately. We'll keep you updated on how this goes. We're live in Aurora this morning. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Thank you, Veronica. The Boulder County Coroner's Office says it's still waiting to positively ID the 3 people who died in a mid-air plane crash Saturday morning. The crash happened right behind Sean Tuff's Longmont home, and while he's used to hearing and seeing planes fly by often, seeing 2 crash into each other Saturday morning was scary, to say the least.
Obviously, one landing in your yard's a little shocking, though. It didn't look like it was falling or tumbling. It looked like it was in just a free fall. It was a little bit of corkscrew, but it looked like it was okay to fly. There was no wings missing or anything like that. Yeah, it just went straight in the earth.
Yesterday, crews carefully picked up the pieces of what was left of one of those planes. The area is still closed off by police tape. The NTSB is still investigating what caused the collision.
Mudslides are a major concern in Puerto Rico today as floodwaters continue to rise from Hurricane Fiona. Also, the power is out across the island, so millions are scrambling trying to prevent the disaster that followed Hurricane Maria 5 years ago. The main part of Fiona has moved on, but the rain keeps falling and it's causing catastrophic flooding.
Water will rise in the order of minutes and hours and can just take you completely off guard.
The National Hurricane Center there says parts of Puerto Rico could see up to 30 inches of rain as the island now marks 5 years since Hurricane Maria tomorrow, which killed more than 3,000 people and cost nearly $92 billion in damage. Well, it wasn't pretty by any means, but it was Russell Wilson's first win as a Bronco and Nathaniel Hackett's first win as a head coach.
Yeah, the Broncos have some kinks to iron out before hosting San Francisco on Sunday. Here's Denver 7 Sports Director Lionel Bienvenu.
Welcome to Denver 7 Sports. And you know there's always good news and bad news in every game, right? Win or lose. The good news here is the Broncos won their home opener over the Texans. The bad news is most of the problems from last Monday's mess in Seattle, they were still there Sunday at Empower Field. The penalties, the red zone, dead zone, the mind-boggling and inexplicable coaching decisions by Nathaniel Hackett. But the Broncos overcame all that to get the win, so as ugly as it was, we'll take it for now. Russell Wilson running out onto the field, the sold-out crowd gave him an orange and blue welcome. Everybody ready to forget the sadness in Seattle and get that first win of the season here at home. And 3rd and 1 for the Broncos. This was a good example of what I'm talking about. Javonte Williams averaging over 6 yards a carry. They called an option with tight end Andrew Beck. They lost a yard, 4th and 2. So Hackett sent the field goal team in. They ran out of time, a delay of game penalty, so they decided to punt. You could hear people screaming at the TV, "What are you doing? The boo's coming down. Fans are not having it." This is bad coaching on a high school level. It's embarrassing. It did get better. Russ, 4th quarter, led a drive, capped it with a 22-yard touchdown pass. Eric Saubert caught it, and the Broncos won at 16-9. After, the coach and the quarterback talked about the win, the fans, and the boos.
I mean, heck, I was booing myself. I was getting very frustrated. Get down to the red zone 2 times, don't get another touchdown, which is unbelievably frustrating. I don't think we've scored in there yet, and that's something that all of our guys got to step it up.
This was exciting for me to play here. I've played against the Denver Broncos before here. It was a crazy crowd to hear all the incompletes, that they're doing on the defense and everything else. But it was a special time to play here, and obviously to get our win. All I really care about is the cheers at the end because we won.
Yep, cheers at the end, and Russell danced around the boos in the 2nd quarter, understandably. But they won. The question is, can the problems be fixed? 25 penalties in 2 games, slow, awkward play calling, clumsy, costly coaching decisions. We'll see what happens this week. The Broncos play the 49ers next Sunday night, prime time, at Empower Field at Mile High. We'll, of course, have the latest on the Broncos coming up later right here on Denver 7 Sports, and we'll see you then.
Lionel, we got to clean it up. Denver 7 is your home for Monday Night Football tonight. The Minnesota Vikings take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Kickoff is set for 6:30. Teenagers today are now using TikTok to search for information like we use Google. How this is impacting what Gen Z learns.
More migrants were sent north over the weekend after landing at the United States southern borders. Now human rights activists want to hold state leaders accountable for the move.